Being in sales leadership for a long time, one of the biggest differences I've noticed is that the best teams don't just work together, they feel like they belong together. I'm Dave Pender. I've spent the last 27 years in sales and sales leadership. And on this channel, I share practical ideas, mistakes I've made, and leadership blind spots that can make a real difference to the way that you lead and sell. One of the things that's always been really important to me as a sales leader is creating a culture of belonging. And not just because it sounds nice, because I've seen what happens when leaders ignore it. I've worked for leaders who genuinely believe that culture mattered. They invested in it, they protected it, they nurtured it. And I've also worked for leaders who thought culture was almost a dirty word, right? Their view was simple: hit your number, culture is fluffy, people are adults, they should just get on with it. And look, I understand where that thinking comes from. Sales is a commercial environment and numbers obviously matter, but I've never personally worked in a sales organization where investing in a culture of belonging didn't improve both the experience of work and the commercial results. Never. Because when people feel like they belong, they care, right? They care about each other, they care about the team, they care about the business, and they care about doing a great job. So the important thing is this: a culture of belonging, it doesn't just happen. Leaders have to build it. It starts by listening to people and treating them with kindness and respect, getting to know people beyond their sales number, understand what matters to them outside of work, and helping them achieve their own goals, not just yours, right? Making sure that they truly have a voice and making sure that they feel seen, because we don't want to feel like a number, right? We want to feel like we matter. And one of the best leaders I've ever worked with had what he called a small council, right? It was a handful of trusted people from our wider team. And every so often he'd bring them together and ask some very simple questions, right? How's the team vibe at the moment? What's frustrating people? Where can we do better? What do I need to tell my boss so he can do better? Where can we double down? Like, what do I need to know that I'm not seeing? That is a leader who understood something really important: that belonging isn't created by speeches, it's created by listening, right? One of the simplest things we ever did was hold a 15-minute team call every single morning. Sometimes we talk about the business, sometimes we talk about product upgrades and sales techniques, sometimes we'd celebrate different cultures across the team, do trivia, simply get to know each other a little better. Every single person, me, my managers, and all of the individual contributors would join those calls every single day. And it was one of the best onboarding tools we had too, right? Especially when people joined remotely. New starters very quickly realized they weren't just joining a company, they were joining a team. They got to know people, hear different perspectives, feel like they belonged from day one. And the content wasn't really the point. The point was that every single day, people were reminded that they were part of something bigger than themselves. One thing I would encourage every leader to do is block out an hour in your calendar every month, or at least every quarter, just to think about your team's culture and ask yourself, if I joined my own team today, would I genuinely feel like I belonged? Then involve your managers, ask your peers, challenge each other, build that small council. Because culture isn't something you create once and then forget about it. It needs attention and it needs nurturing and it certainly needs protecting. And it often needs innovation, right? Times change, people change. The final thing before I go is something else I've learned along the way. Culture is what people say about your team when you are not in the room. You don't get to decide what your culture is, right? You can influence, you can try, but it is your people. It is your people who decide. So if you've never consciously thought about creating a culture of belonging, I urge you to start. Because the best cultures, they're not accidental, they are intentional. And in my experience, they don't just create happier teams, they create better performing ones too. Let's go.